10 Crazy Facts About Psychopaths. Before we start the video, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel and turn the notification on, so you don't miss our new video. Number 1. Psychopaths can't recognize fear. Psychopaths are endearing, but they frequently put themselves and others in serious danger. Because of their readiness to violate social standards and lack of remorse, they frequently engage in criminal activity and other reckless actions. One theory for how psychopathy functions is that it has to do with a weakness in fear. In a recent study, which will appear in a forthcoming issue of Psychological Science, a publication of the Association for Psychological Science, it was discovered that kids who have a certain risk factor for psychopathy don't experience terror as rapidly as normal kids do. According to the study's lead author Patrick D. Silvers of the University of Washington, the theory that psychopaths are unaware of or incapable of feeling fear has been around since the 1950s. You lack that terror from birth, so when your parents try to socialize you, you don't really react as you should since you aren't afraid. Number 2. Psychopaths crave dopamine. Ted Bundy, a notorious serial murderer, confessed, "I just like to kill. I wanted to kill," when asked why he committed such awful acts. What motivates murderers like Ted Bundy? And why do psychopaths enjoy deceiving other people so much? Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for turning on our brain's reward regions, has a role in everything. It's the same rationale behind why people fall in love, use drugs, or consume sweets, but on a far larger scale. Psychopaths are addicted to dopamine. The Nashville-based researcher Joshua Buchholz claims that a psychopath's brain not only makes more dopamine, but also overvalues the neurotransmitter. According to Buchholz, psychopaths' obsession with having their own way, even at the expense of others, is caused by their need for dopamine. As part of his research, Buchholz gave amphetamines that attached to dopamine-producing neurons to 30 individuals who displayed psychopathic tendencies. To measure the amount of dopamine released in reaction to the amphetamines, these medications were radioactively labeled. They discovered that compared to the other individuals, people who exhibited strong antisocial impulsivity, the urge and willingness to manipulate others, produced a lot more dopamine. Number 3. Psychopaths may have an empty switch. Psychopaths are well renowned for their inability to see themselves in another person's situation. They treat people like pawns in a game of chess for their own entertainment. There is disagreement over the cause of this. The University of Groningen in the Netherlands has neuroscientists that disagree with the theory that psychopaths are just hardwired that way. When researchers invited the convicts to sympathize with the people on the video, however, things took an intriguing turn. This time, the psychopaths truly reacted when the victim was beaten. They were sensing the suffering of another. Psychopaths have an off and on switch in their brains, the researchers determined. Even though it is often set to off, it can be flipped if necessary. Psychopaths sometimes come off as approachable and charming because of this. The researchers hope that this paves the way for the rehabilitation of psychotic criminals. They could beat their disorder if they could learn to leave the switch on. On the other hand, if they truly are just refusing to sympathize, they are far more terrifying than we thought. Number 4. Psychopaths receive harsher criminal sentences. Researchers from the University of Utah gave a group of 181 state judges a fake case to examine whether a psychopathy diagnosis benefits or harms defendants. They had developed a fictional character named Jonathan Donahue who was based on a crook from real life. Donahue's brutal robbery of a fast food business was disclosed to the judges. The researchers claimed that he shown no remorse for his crime and even boasted about it while he was on the run. The judges were requested to impose a term on him because he had been found guilty of serious battery. The judges were questioned about the typical sentences they would impose on offenders found guilty of severe battery before they made their choices. Most people mentioned 9 years. They were more severe with the fictitious bandit, though. Judges who simply knew that Donahue was a psychopath gave the criminal an average prison term of 14 years. Giving the courts a medical explanation for the disorder didn't do much to help Donahue. On average, the judges who received that information sentenced him to 1 year less. Number 5. Businesses are filled with psychopaths. Kevin Dutton, an Oxford researcher, compiled a list of the occupations that draw the most psychopaths in 2013. Numerous psychopaths pursue careers as police officers, attorneys, and physicians, so it probably won't come as a surprise to anyone. However, CEO was the top job picked by psychopaths. That supports a 2010 study by Paul Bobiak, who used a questionnaire based on Robert Hare's well-known psychopathy checklist to interview 203 aspiring leaders at management training programs. Bobbiak came to the disturbing conclusion that, compared to the percentage of psychopaths in the general population, 1 in 25 of the interviews were full-fledged psychopaths. Number 6. Internet trolls or psychopaths. Web users who participated in a poll by psychologists from various Canadian colleges were questioned on topics including how much time they spend online and whether or not they comment on YouTube. They were also asked whether they agreed or disagreed with statements like, "I enjoy playing the villain in games and tormenting other characters. I have sent individuals to shock websites for the lulz." And, "I like to troll people in forums or the comments sections of websites." Those are the real questions, yes. The study's findings suggested a depressing conclusion. Trolls resemble the strangely titled dark tetrad in various ways. The convergence of 4 negative personality traits, sadism, Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, makes up the dark tetrad. These personality types are extremely dishonest, relish hurting others, and show no remorse for their misdeeds. Researchers have even discovered a connection between these characteristics and how much time is spent online harassing people, leading to a vicious cycle of psychopathy. Number 7. The prosocial psychopath. James Fallon, a neuroscientist, comes from a large family. 7 alleged killers, including the notorious Lizzie Borden, are connected to him. The majority of his kin were found to be healthy, but one scan of his own orbital cortex revealed an alarming lack of activity. He conducted a few DNA tests since he was sure that a mistake had been made. The results did not soothe Fallon's mind. Rather, they proved that he not only had a psychopath's brain, but also a psychopath's genetic makeup. He possessed a specific MOA gene variation, according to the testing. Because it causes aggressive behavior, this gene is also known as the warrior gene. Fallon refers to himself as a prosocial psychopath, which describes his tendency to act in accordance with social norms. He actually accomplishes a lot of good. He participates in community leadership roles, gives to charity, and, sort of, enjoys helping others. Instead of being a genuine decent guy, Fallon said, "I get a high from look what I can do for the world." Even his grandchildren's victories in simple games are forbidden. His remark that he feels the same way about his granddaughter as he does about strangers on the street illustrates his difficulty empathizing with others. Number 8. Psychopaths have a poor sense of smell. Professors Jason Castro and Chakra Chenabholta made the decision to classify each scent in existence in September 2013. They found that people could distinguish between 10 different odors, including fruity, chemical, popcorn, and decayed. When it comes to psychopaths, it's difficult for them to distinguish between the woody scent of freshly cut grass and the pungent aroma of blue cheese. As was already noted, the orbital cortices of psychopaths work at a lower level. This impairs not only their capacity for long-term planning and impulse control, but also their sense of smell. Researchers from Macquarie University in Sydney who recruited 79 non-criminal psychopaths for a smell test corroborated this. Sniffin sticks, which are objects that resemble pens and are perfumed with different smells like coffee, citrus, and leather, were given to the participants to identify. The psychopaths had problems distinguishing between different scents, just as the researchers had predicted. In fact, the individuals performed worse at recognizing different scents the higher their scores on a common psychopath test were. This finding might play a fascinating role in diagnostics in addition to offering a fascinating glimpse into the secrets of the brain. Number 9. Presidents and psychopaths have a lot in common. Emory University psychologists made the decision to examine each U.S. president, from Washington through Bush, to see who was the most psychopathic. Obama wasn't included because his second term wasn't yet over. They examined each president's personality using a book titled Personality, Character, and Leadership in the White House. The way these politicians handled crises, interacted with Congress, and collaborated with foreign leaders were all things they paid close attention to. They also examined DC's more sinister aspects, like misuse of authority and adulterous relationships. The majority of the presidents showed a psychopathic feature called fearless dominance, FD, especially when compared to the general population, even if none of them completely met the definition of a psychopath. Lack of fear and a refusal to back down from a perilous situation are characteristics of fearless dominance. Additionally, it involves the capacity for charm, which is a crucial political tool. Number 10. Psychopaths have recognizable speech patterns. Although psychopaths may appear intelligent and funny, Cornell University studies found that psychopaths frequently make mistakes when they speak. 52 murderers were interviewed by the researchers, who were led by Jeffrey Hancock, and 14 of them were psychopaths. They had the thieves describe their crimes, and a computer software was used to analyze the language they used. Researchers examined the chats and identified a few peculiarities in psychopathic speech. They used terms like, and, more frequently than typical thugs in an effort to appear normal. They used a lot of subordinating conjunctions, such as because, and, so that, and the majority of their sentences were written as cause and effect statements. The fact that psychos were more preoccupied with basic requirements like food, drink, and money was perhaps the most revealing. Most prisoners spoke about their family and religious convictions. If you find this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.